Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Scott Reisch from Crime Talk. Thanks for tuning in. First on the docket, a fellow inmate talks of her time with Lori Vallow in lockup. Second, R. Kelly is trying to use his assault to get a bond reduction. Third, a Jacob Blake case update. A Georgia mayor arrested on theft charges. Wait till you hear this. And finally, our dumb criminal contestant of the day. Let's talk about it. So let's get straight to the show. First, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like, leave us a comment below, and hit that little bell so that you receive a notification of when we go live or put up new content. Now, we will be going live tonight, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, so please join us. First on the docket, a fellow inmate talks about her experience with Lori Vallow in lockup. Wait till you hear some of this. Some of it's not too surprising. Other parts of it may surprise you just a little bit. So a local Rexburg woman spent some time in lockup. She's asked the press not to use her real name. However, we, along with the newspaper that had an interview with her, will refer to her as Melissa Cook. Now, Melissa Cook was apparently incarcerated at the same jail as Lori Vallow because she was there on a parole violation. For those of you who aren't familiar with the parole violation, when you go to prison, not county jail, but prison, you usually have a term of supervision after your release from prison. It's called parole. If you violate the terms and conditions of your parole, the most important requirement of parole is not to commit any new law violations. You usually have to keep in touch with your parole officer, take a bunch of classes, probably take urinalysis or some sort of drug testing as well. And if you violate that, guess what? You don't get a whole hearing. You get a hearing before a parole board, and ultimately they can send you back to prison for additional period of time or let you out, or basically say your time in county jail is enough to suffice for some punishment. So that's what a parole violation is. And this Miss Cook was there on a parole violation. She was ultimately sent to a different facility and then ultimately released. Now, you have to take what anybody says who has been in custody with another inmate with a certain grain of salt. Why did the press get in contact with her? Why is she talking? You know, normally people in jail don't talk about their fellow inmates at all. It doesn't exactly endear you because you come across as someone who could be potentially a snitch. Well, a couple things we've learned from this Miss Cook. So Miss Cook spoke to a newspaper in Idaho, and she apparently kept notes that she kept behind bars in the Madison County Jail. Makes you a little suspicious right about there. Why do you think someone was taking notes? For their 15 minutes of fame, perhaps? Perhaps to lie in wait, so to speak, if Miss Lori Vallow was to say something that would be incriminating, that she would have that along with other information to get a better deal for herself. I'm telling you, I have seen people think that they could get a better deal, whether it was a homicide case or even just a minor case, but it is a high-profile situation. People will do anything to get that deal. Apparently, there's an app that allows inmates to have communication with people outside. I know, you would think, but in today's world, it's frankly much easier if you can send an email. I wasn't aware of text messages, but you never know what's going on in the world these days, and we try to keep up on that. But needless to say, this Miss Cook also has communications via this app that allows people to communicate with inmates. Now, Miss Cook was only with Ms. Vallow between the dates of March 4th through March 8th. Apparently, Miss Cook was placed in a disciplinary lockdown during the same time that Miss Vallow was there as well. This was right when Lori Vallow was being extradited back to the state of Idaho from Hawaii. The county jail has confirmed that the two inmates did have separate cells, but they would be able to talk to each other in the pod because of their close proximity. They would read books, watch TV, and make phone calls or talk with each other during their time there. Accordingly, Miss Cook made a point not to ask about the kids, but she did want to gain her trust to see if she could tell me anything. See, that shows to me that this woman is using her position to try to get a better deal for herself or perhaps a little fame. And I guess it's working because guess what? We're talking about it. Miss Cook said that Miss Vallow was always upbeat, friendly, never showed any sign of heartbreak, never cried, didn't appear to be disappointed, and opened up about how she was glad to no longer be in the Hawaii Correctional Center. Ms. Vallow apparently didn't like the correctional center in Hawaii because there were roaches on the floor, and she just thought that it was absolutely awful. She said the jail facility that she's currently in now is so much nicer, and the food is so good. Apparently, Ms. Vallow was quite concerned about her appearance when she was going to go to court, and she also knew that the story was all about her. She was the main event. As you may recall, COVID was breaking. Kobe Bryant had just passed away, but she knew she was the lead story. Miss Cook states that early on, or at least during the time period that she had interaction with Miss Vallow, every day that she was out with her lawyers, she was hoping and believed that she was going to bond out. As we all know, Lori Vallow's still in custody and not going anywhere. When she wasn't speaking with her attorneys, either in person or on the phone, she was usually having video chats with Chad or her son, Colby. Now, this Miss Cook was apparently always kind of listening in whenever she could, and when Miss Vallow had some earbuds in, she obviously wasn't able to hear the conversation, but that she said that she was always listening to get some information from her. She was able to overhear from conversations with Colby, one of Miss Vallow's sons, that he was very frustrated that his mom was not cooperating at all. She apparently told her son Colby to read the book of Job in the Old Testament, and he would understand. She said that she was being tested like Job. She would say, Colby, just listen to me. Everyone wants to know, but it's none of their business. God doesn't judge me, and they shouldn't judge me. The prophet says to stay off social media, so don't go on there. That is what Miss Cook said Lori Vallow told her son. Miss Cook did describe Lori Vallow's conversations with her husband, Chad, as nauseating. Daybell apparently wanted affection and reassurance from her husband that he in fact loved her, and that she always made sure she looked good if they were going to communicate via video. Apparently, sounds like Lori Vallow had some insecurity issues that maybe the new husband who was on the outside who couldn't make bond maybe wasn't going to stick around. Well, now they're together. Apparently, according to Miss Cook, Lori Vallow spent most of her time reading the scriptures and praying, but she was never trying to convert or discuss religion with Miss Cook in any way. Miss Cook has stated that she reached out to Lori Vallow so that they could communicate upon her release. Now, Miss Cook has not heard back from Miss Vallow in any way. That's probably on the advice of her attorney, because anything the defendant says can and will be used against someone in a court of law. Now, the significance of this story isn't that Lori Vallow talked to people or had interaction with people in jail. That happens all the time. What is significant here is this confirms what, as a defense attorney, I literally have to tell clients every day. Literally what I did about 10 minutes before I sat down here and got behind this microphone. Trust no one in custody. They're not your friend. They were always looking for an angle to help themselves. And if it means to throw a fellow inmate under the bus that they don't know, they're going to do it. Now, this Miss Cook, I don't know what her intentions are, but I think she was trying to find some way for a benefit to herself, whether financially, through fame and fortune, or if she didn't resolve that parole hold, that's exactly what would take place. And I tell clients all the time, if somebody wants to talk to you about your case, that means they're fishing for information, and they will go to the district attorney and turn that information over. One of the things that was highlighted in this interview was that Miss Cook said that she wanted to gain her trust. Why? She wanted to get a confession. Can you imagine Miss Cook, a parolee, getting out, could be the star witness in a case where she says Lori Vallow confessed to her? Yeah. Lori Vallow's apparently not that stupid, or her attorneys have told her to shut her mouth. We'll see if Miss Cook's name comes up again as the trial proceeds. Next on the docket, R. Kelly. Yes, remember R. Kelly, the one-time very popular singer who's now in a Chicago cell. And when he's not there, he's in a cell in New York as he awaits charges for doing bad things to children. Well, as you may recall, we had a video last week, maybe 2 weeks ago already, it passes so fast, that R. Kelly was assaulted. And then we brought you the story about the person who assaulted Mr. Kelly, a gentleman by the name of Jeremiah Farmer. Now, Mr. Farmer, he doesn't have a whole lot to lose, all right? Mr. Farmer, he's 39, and he is facing mandatory life sentence for racketeering conspiracy charges related to a double murder. So when Mr. Farmer says that he assaulted Mr. Kelly so that he could show injustice in his case, that's right, Mr. Farmer's case, he doesn't have a whole lot to lose. Now he's getting his, 15 minutes of fame, so to speak. Well, guess what? The attorneys for Mr. Kelly want to speak to Mr. Farmer because Mr. Farmer had explained that he had assaulted Mr. Kelly in his own pro se filings with the appellate courts, even though no criminal charges have currently been filed. Needless to say, the attorneys want to speak with Mr. Farmer so that they can use this information to show that basically Mr. Kelly is not safe and to pursue the allegation that the correctional facility personnel somehow allowed Mr. Farmer to carry out the attack on Mr. Kelly. It has nothing to do with and is absolutely of no relevance to the actual case of Mr. Kelly. However, I see the attorney for Mr. Kelly, a Mr. Michael Leonard, trying to use this to show some sort of change circumstance, and that obviously the jailhouse personnel must be in cahoots with the government, whereby they're planning attacks on R. Kelly. Now, there's some facetiousness there, but that's going to be the gist of the motion, is that somehow Mr. Kelly was allowed to be assaulted, and therefore he should be released on bond. Mark my word, it'll be coming. Before we continue with the rest of the docket, let's take a quick recess. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. If you all would go there and do this, we would never have to talk about it again. So go sign up. Go to CrimeTalkSearch.com and sign up for a background subscription service. You may think, why do I need to do this? Ladies and gentlemen, you need to know with whom you are dealing with in the world. It is not a safe place, and just as we saw in our first story, there are Miss Cooks out there that are always trying to gain your trust so they can get that information and use it against you. You have to be careful with whom you trust. When you go to CrimeTalkSearch.com and sign up for a subscription, you type in a name, and literally, while you wait, from the time that you hit that return button, millions and millions of public records are being searched, and a report is being prepared while you wait. And that report is going to show emails associated with the person that you are searching, phone numbers associated with the person you are searching, social media. All of these will be associated with the person you are searching. Why is that relevant? Well, let's say you're dating a guy and he says he only has one phone number and you find he has multiple phone numbers. Could it be because he's talking with other people? Same thing maybe with your spouse as well, if you have concerns. Those are the kinds of things that you can check into. Additionally, you're going to get a report that's going to show criminal history, property records, marital records, divorce records. You're going to see if there's any civil judgments or bankruptcies. Ladies and gentlemen, the cost of the subscription is nominal. It will pay for itself if you find out even one good piece of information in this report. Will either help you make a better decision or it will confirm information that you have been told. Either way, you can sleep at night. Go to crimetalksearch.com, sign up today. Next on the docket, a Jacob Blake case update. As most people have heard, Jacob Blake is the man who was shot 7 times in the back by a Kenosha police officer when the police were responding to what was purported to be some sort of domestic dispute or that Mr. Blake was leaving. It's also alleged and confirmed that Mr. Blake had a knife. Somewhat unclear where it was, whether it was in a waistband or actually in the car, but the police officer thought that his life was in danger. Hence the reason why the police officer probably has not been disciplined or fired in any way is that I think it would be very tough at this particular time. Now, don't get me wrong, shooting somebody in the back 7 times when nothing bad has happened makes one think little itchy on the trigger finger, but the law is such that if the officer felt in danger, whether it's right or wrong, the law is more than likely going to go in favor of the police officer. Well, as we have reported previously, Jacob Blake had a warrant for his arrest for an incident that took place back in June. Allegedly, we're giving him the presumption of innocence like we do all people that we talk about here on Crime Talk. That presumption will remain with them unless and until they either plead guilty or are found guilty by a jury trial. Well, those charges that Mr. Blake was pending was for a felony sexual assault where he could face up to 10 years in prison and a $25,000 fine. He was arraigned via video advisement, WebEx, from a hospital bed, and he waived his right to a preliminary hearing, and he acknowledged that he understood the charges and the possible penalties. The district attorney obviously recognized that these were serious charges, but also that the defendant, Mr. Blake, had serious injuries and is recovering in the hospital. A pretrial conference has been scheduled for October 21st, and a trial date, although this seems rather quick, was set for November 9th. Now, needless to say, the shooting of Mr. Blake caused more rioting in Kenosha as well as other cities around the United States as well. Now, there were lots of comments where people say, what does it matter if he had charges? What does it matter if he had previous charges? Well, it doesn't as it relates to the charges that could be brought against the police officer if those are in fact ever filed. Little to no relevance. It would come in what they refer to as res gestae evidence as to why they were there to arrest Mr. Blake, so it has some relevance to it. However, does it make any justification one way or another as it relates to his status as a victim of the shooting, or is it going to affect him in any way as it relates to the prosecution of his case? The prosecutor's in a very tight situation here because obviously they have a duty to the victim in the alleged sexual assault case, and also they have to be sympathetic to Mr. Blake given what he has gone through. Needless to say, apparent by the video that a lot of things could have been handled a lot differently in this situation, and there's plenty of blame to go around to all parties, no doubt. We'll see how this case goes about and whether the allegations are ever ultimately resolved by trial or whether there'll be a plea or a dismissal. We'll have to continue to watch for sure. Next on the docket, a Georgia mayor is arrested for theft. That's right. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation has arrested the Nashville, Georgia mayor, Taylor Scarborough. Now, Mayor Scarborough turned himself into the Berrien County Jail without incident, and he is now charged with a count of theft by conversion and theft of services. Now, this is strange. Usually when you see a case about a mayor being charged, you think of political corruption. Well, apparently that's not the case here. At least the allegations are that sheriff deputies were originally called to the mayor's house after another man who was identified as James Hobbs accused Mayor Scarborough of using his excavator without permission and causing significant damage to the machine. That's all we know, but apparently probable cause exists to show that the mayor took a piece of property that did not belong to him without permission with the intent to permanently deprive the other gentleman of that piece of property. Theft by conversion is a fancy word of saying, but that is a teachable moment, ladies and gentlemen. You can't take things that don't belong to you from another person without their permission. And even if they let you borrow it for a certain amount of time, if you don't give it back, it becomes a theft. Always remember that. Don't be a Mayor Scarborough. That creates problems. He could have to resign. It's simple, ladies and gentlemen. You just don't, as your mom always told you when we walk into the store, don't touch. That's right. Keep your hands off of other people's things. Don't steal. Next on the docket, our dumb criminal contestant of the day. Now, before we get to our contestant for this week, let's talk about our winner from last week. That's right. It was a close call between Nicholas Mark for stealing the tip jar from the pizza place from where he was applying for a job. But the ultimate winner goes to Christopher Sale. That's right. The man who got the munchies while he was doing his laundry and went to Taco Bell completely naked and liked to circle back around and get a little extra attention from the lady at the drive-thru. Mr. Sale, congratulations. You are a dumb criminal contestant of the week. And we will be going to CrimeTalkSearch.com, finding your information, and sending you a Crime Talk mug. And as we have said before, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to get any Crime Talk merchandise and don't want to become a dumb criminal contestant of the week winner, go to the Teespring link below. Go there, bam, order yourself a mug, a t-shirt, whatever, and guess what? It'll be there within a couple of days. You'll enjoy it. Good quality stuff. Now, for our dumb criminal contestant of the day. Meet Miss Ashley Spencer. She wanted to celebrate her 34th birthday big. That's right. We're talking real big. And guess what? She got something really big in exchange. She got herself charges. That's right. She went so big, she went all in, that she's been charged with solicitation to commit murder and solicitation to commit burglary. Obviously felonies. She's currently in jail on a $350,000 bond. So maybe through one of those fancy apps, someone could communicate with Miss Spencer, help her set up a GoFundMe page if that's what they need to do. But let's talk about what got Miss Spencer arrested for her birthday. She wanted to do what lots of women would like to do. That's right. She wanted to kill her husband's lover. That's right. She wanted to do this as a birthday gift to herself. Who doesn't want to feel good on their birthday, right? So the police began investigating Miss Spencer in late August after a friend reported, just like a Miss Cook friend, I'm sure, reported that she was making threats against the woman. A corrections deputy with the Brevard County Sheriff's Office reportedly made this information known. And then on an August 29th Snapchat message, Miss Spencer asked the source, "You know of any felons that don't give a damn about life and willing to do a job?" That's right. In a subsequent phone call, the source told cops Spencer spoke of buying a gun and wanting to do harm to the baby fathered by her husband with the female, the target. During a second phone call with Miss Spencer, the source allegedly claimed to have found somebody who would assist with this plot for a mere $1,000. Miss Spencer stated that she would come up with the money and she would like to talk to the male in person. Well, guess what? It was a sting operation, ladies and gentlemen. So on February 2nd, the meeting with the purported felon, who is actually an undercover federal agent, agreed with Spencer and paid him $2,000 for the man's assistance. While Spencer said she planned to shoot or was hoping to shoot the victim while the woman slept in her home, she told the undercover agent that he would help her break into the residence and then dispose of her firearm after the killing. Miss Spencer, as the police allege, detailed her pre-hit planning, which included leaving her car and phone at a relative's home 2 hours away. She planned to borrow someone's car to commit the crime and has gloves to wear to protect from gunshot residue from getting on her hands. Now, obviously, we know didn't quite work out so well for Miss Spencer. Another teachable moment that oftentimes comes from dumb criminal conduct, ladies and gentlemen. Now, first of all, Miss Spencer, probably above average dumb criminal because she's what? Leaving her cell phone at home. Why? Alibi. Not taking her car. Why? Identification. Very important, is it not? Yes, it is. And then she was going to have gloves so that she wouldn't have any gunpowder residue, just in case she happened to be stopped and the guns pulled her over and they bagged her hands and then did a gunshot residue test, which is that little test that they rub over your hands. And if there are gunshot particles, it doesn't mean that you fired the gun, but it can generally tell you how close you were to a gun when it was in fact fired. Where Miss Spencer made her mistake here, obviously, was trusting a friend, and that friend, who was a correctional officer, obviously had a duty to report her. Miss Spencer, you are a dumb criminal contestant of the day, because who would be so stupid to try and plan the murder of your husband's baby's mama and tell someone else about it? That's all we have today on Crime Talk. Don't forget to join us this evening for live 6 p.m. Mountain Time. And then right after that, we will go to our Patreon members where you can actually call in and talk with us. And we'll talk about anything. Tonight on our Patreon is Ask Scott Anything. So make sure you sign up for that Patreon and we'll see you tonight. Thanks for watching. That's all we have for Crime Talk today.